Hey folks, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and I'm not sure if you can see much of my shirt. It's a dirty shirt that I'm wearing. It's because I'm working on a sharpening video. This knife, the Harns Desert Fox, came to me a little while ago, and I got it. I bought it, paid for it, and I found out when I measured it that the grind angle of the final grind, the sharp grind, was off by over 12 degrees, almost 13 degrees from one side to the other. 19.1 on one side and 31 something, I don't have my notes right in front of me, on the other side, which means that's a radical difference. What do you do when you're going to sharpen a knife and you find that the factory did such a varied job, one side being ground at one angle and the other side being ground at a very different angle? How do you sharpen that? How do you deal with that? How do you decide what to do? And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Keep watching. Since the difference in sharpening angle this way on this knife from one side to the other is more than 12 degrees, more like 13 degrees, 12.8 actually, we've got 31.9, so basically 32 degrees on this side, and this other side has been sharpened to 19.1 degrees. So that means if I go to sharpen this thing, what's the best thing I can do to sharpen it? Cut it in half. That's the best thing for the first time you're going to sharpen it. So I'm going to sharpen it 25 degrees per side, which means when I'm sharpening the one side, this is the 19 degree side, I will be sharpening right along the cutting edge of the knife, and the shoulder of that first bevel there won't get sharpened at all until I've taken off enough steel to push it all the way back to the existing shoulder that's on there right now. And the other side, I'll be sharpening on the shoulder, and I'll take off a whole bunch of steel before I get up to the cutting edge. Now the mistake that I can make is if I do this side first, the shallow side, and here I am sharpening on the cutting edge, and I'm going and going and going until I get to the shoulder, I will have brought the cutting edge way over to this side of the knife. That means if I'm holding the blade this way, the cutting edge will be way over on one side, more like a chisel grind than on the other side. And then when I sharpen it back, I'll have to take a whole lot of it back, and that's going to be a major waste of steel. So the best way to do this, that I've learned in my experience, is to sharpen the side that is on too great of an angle first. So this side that's 31.9 degrees, I sharpen that side first, and I'm going to stop just shy of it getting to the cutting edge. So I want to take off as little steel as possible to get close to the middle. Then I'll flip it over, and I'll do this other side for a while, and then I'm going to start to examine it very carefully and see if my cutting edge is anywhere near the middle. And then I'll do whatever it takes, sharpening the side more to bring it to the middle all the way across. So once this is done, it'll be 25 degrees. The next time it gets dull, if I keep this knife and I go to sharpen it, the next time I'll sharpen it probably to 22.5 degrees. And the time after that, I'll probably bring it down to 20 degrees. 9C or 18 MOV can easily stand being at 20 degrees per side, and 20 degrees per side gives me a little bit better of an edge, because 20 degrees per side, that equals 40 degrees in there, instead of right now I'm at 50 degrees, just over 50 degrees. So I want to bring that down a little bit so that the cutting edge is more narrow to slice through whatever materials I'm slicing through. It'll go through easier than this would. If this is the cutting edge, a knife that's like this will have a tougher time going through it than a knife that's like this. And so that's why you want to get it to the most narrow degree possible that is also compatible with the steel. So you don't want it so thin that the edge will just chip and break, but you don't want it so thick that you're wasting a whole lot of energy and effort cutting through stuff when it could cut through more easily. So there you go. 25 degrees per side right now, which means I've got to take off over 5 degrees on each side. I got to take off about 6 degrees on either side of this knife. That's going to be a lot of work. So taking off the shoulder until I've got enough, actually this side is, taking off the shoulder until I've got enough down, and then take off this side where I'm grinding on the cutting edge and bringing it back. And I want to just bring it until I've got the cutting edge very sharp, even if I don't have the entire shoulder sharpened. I don't want to waste steel. And this side that's 19 degrees right now, it's going to have shoulder left over. So I'm going to just be sharpening the edge. So on this side, it'll look like I've got a micro bevel. And on this side, it's going to look like it's been sharpened at one angle the entire way across. The reason for that is simple preservation of steel. I only need the cutting edge to be sharp. I don't need the entire shoulder of the blade of the cutting edge to be all the same angle. So it'll be 25 degrees at the edge, and then it'll go down to 19 degrees until it reaches the main bevel of the knife. And each time I sharpen it, it'll push it back further, closer to this bevel. Take off as little steel as you can to get a good cutting edge. That's the rule of thumb I live with, or live by, in terms of sharpening knives, and I suggest you do the same. I'm not going to show you the rest of the sharpening. So the next time I sharpen this knife, once this gets dull, I'm going to sharpen it to less than 25 degrees. Now, it'll sort of depend on how dull it gets. Maybe I'll just drop it and it'll be fine. But if I need to sharpen it again, I'm going to take off at least 1.5 degrees, maybe 2 degrees, maybe even 2.5 degrees per side. So it's at 25 right now. I might just resharpen it the next time at 22.5 degrees. And after that gets dull, the time after that, I'll sharpen it at 20 degrees because, as I said in the other part of the video, 20 degrees is really good for 9CR18. And then I'll have the knife just the way I want it. If I tried to do it all in one fell swoop, I'm going to get less life out of the knife. I'm going to take off more steel than I need to, and I won't be able to use the knife as long as I want to because every time you sharpen it, it gets thicker behind the grind. So the rule of thumb is to sharpen it as little as possible to get a good cutting edge, and then use the knife as long as you can. What I mean is the next time I need to sharpen it, I don't necessarily mean the very first time it gets a little bit dull. Stropping a few times after the edge goes away can give it a longer life. So I might, get a dull edge, strop it, get a dull edge, strop it, get a dull edge, strop it a third time, maybe even a fourth time. It really all depends. And that's what you get. Now, I do want to show you something right there. There's a little bit of a scratch right there, some scratches. That's not from the factory. I turned to adjust the camera and I slid the stone up on the main bevel of the knife instead of just on the cutting edge. Rookie mistake, but all of us make mistakes, even us that have been doing this for a long time. But that can polish out pretty easily just using some Scotch-Brite, and you move it across the edge just the way. Let's see if I can get this a close-up of this here. There, you see those grind lines that are across the knife here? Using a Scotch-Brite pad or one of those scouring pads, and you slide it at that exact same angle, it'll start to disguise some of these just a little bit. Don't do too much, just do a little bit, and then the next time you sharpen the knife, maybe touch it up a little bit more, and before you know it, that will look like it's not even there. Just a second little hint for something you can do when you're sharpening knives. So right now, the cutting edge is very close to right down the center, and it's a good knife. I really, really, really like this knife. And just stay tuned, Canadian Cutting Edge, and you're going to see the full review of this thing quite soon. Or I might post this video after I posted the review, in which case you've already seen the review, and if you haven't, double check my channel. So thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Please ask any questions that you've got. And remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.